Now, does this kind of strategy require a team or some dedicated people in the organization, or is this something that a small to medium-sized company, with limited resources or limited time, can actually implement in their world, or is this something that maybe is a better outsourced solution for someone like that?
I generally recommend actually insourcing it, having it within the company. And as far as teams go, I mean, from the data, I remember Jeremiah Aoyang kind of did a study of social customer relationship management and social media teams within companies. I'd say, depending on the size of your company, it should be the equivalent of 1 to 24 full-time employees. And if you need to divide that up, sure, you can divide it up. Like let's say you have a 4-person marketing team. Could you maybe have them each working on your social customer relationship management strategy for like a day a week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you can cut it up. But trying to do something like this with under 1 full-timer's worth of resourcing, I don't see it being successful.
That's pretty tough, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, if I told you, could you pack for a 2-month vacation in 10 minutes? Like, I'm sure you could like grab a jacket and a pair of underwear, but I don't know if you'd be so happy on your vacation.
Yeah, depends on where you're going, right?
Yeah. If you're going to a nudist colony, maybe.
Well, and just for those of you who are not aware of Jeremiah Aoyang, he's a web strategist, and that's a whole discipline in itself that's developed. It's a whole career developing on its own there. And how does your product mix, or how does your material compare to that of a web strategist? Would they be coming to you for certain advice, or is this something that you kind of work and hand in hand?
Yeah, I mean, so someone like Jeremiah, for example, he used to be a Forrester analyst, and he started his own firm called the Altimeter Group. They're a real good firm. They're a research advisory firm based outside of San Francisco, down in San Mateo, and so they advise companies, on strategies to help them thrive with disruptive and new technologies, and so that's kind of their niche. I collaborate with folks like them sometimes, and frequently, if a company has a web strategist who just isn't sure what to do about an emerging technology, especially one that's a social technology, that's where I think I could probably lend the most expertise.
Gotcha. So just to kind of wrap it around, also your 5 M's of social CRM in 22 cases. I do not. That's for people to buy the book and figure that sort of stuff out, right? But I mean, the buckets that you go into.
Actually, it's funny. That chapter is going to be available for free, and the reason is because so this chapter of the book that has all the basics of it, it's partially based on this open research that Jeremiah and Ray did about 1.5 years ago, and so in sticking with what's called the open research tradition, I too am going to make my research for that chapter open, so anyone can read it. There's no charge, and so that graph was sort of originated by their work, and then I stacked a lot of things on top of it too. So it's what you're looking at on page 54 of the book, that big diagram. It's kind of a mashup of their original research and about 7 or 8 things I added to it. So it was kind of like we were virtually collaborating, and they actually answered a number of questions for me in helping write the book.
Well, you're kind of living your prophecy. I mean, you're actually giving forward in your whole outlook on what you're doing, and that's sort of what people need to do in companies in order to gain trust and build relationships with clients. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever a company comes to me and says, "Okay, we're ready. We want to do social customer relationship management," I'll say to them, "Well, let's pick 1 or 2 of these use cases and do them really well, rather than doing 5 or 6 of these use cases in a really mediocre way."
So that leads me to my next question, which is, how disruptive is something like this for a company, and how do you mold the culture, or how do you lead the culture of a company into this kind of? It's a whole change management process, I imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, to try and do this without a few employees who have some sort of organizational change management certification could be real tough. And if you're looking into getting a couple employees, well versed in that, there's a good course that Cornell University in New York offers. It's an online course, actually. You can get a very basic cert in online change organizational change management, I think in about a month, and it's not very expensive. So at the very least, I would recommend you have some people who are good at that. And then as far as how do you move the entire boat around, I'd say in baby steps. I mean, there are some companies like, HP, SAP, who originally really embraced the social web like a decade ago. Sun Microsystems is another notable example. Others were a little later to the game, like Google, for example, didn't really embrace social until a year or 2 ago. Now they have, the 6th most powerful guy at Google, Vic Kondrota. He's He's their social EVP. And, you know, Google, even themselves, when they debuted Google Plus, their key execs were not using it. That's changed now. If you go on Google Plus, you can look for their CEO.
That's actually a very interesting observation, because you know I would have thought that that Google would have been trying to lead the pack there, but I guess they weren't leading by example. I mean, they were introducing all of these products and introducing what was it, Bing and various other attempts at social networking, but their entire internal organization wasn't actually involved in that process.
Yeah, so what happened was Google, actually, it's funny you should say that, they shut down Buzz today,
that's it, not Bing, Buzz.
Oh, is it Buzz?
Yeah.
Bing's
Microsoft,
I even
dude.
confused my. Yeah, right.
And they also shut down what was the other one, Jaiku, which they acquired about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, they got rid of that too, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did, and understandably so.
Yeah.
I mean, these were social customer services that just didn't really resonate with the social customer. So it's, you know, what's the point of keeping them around? And yeah, I'm looking right now at Eric Schmidt's Google Plus profile, and so now he is indeed using the technology, and he's got, he's engaging with 20,000 people on a daily basis, and that's kind of neat. I mean, just to be able to post a comment somewhere where the CEO of one of the most important companies in the world could see it, like that's one of the magical things about social customer relationship management, is that, your customers now have a direct line to maybe your CEO, whereas before, what could they do? Send a letter that would get stuck on some receptionist's desk, It's
a lot of transparency, which is really nice to see actually out there. That's what makes the web so wonderful. Is the it's good, it's bad too at the same time with that sort of transparency though.
Yeah, there are positives and negatives because, if you're going to do social customer relationship management, you have to be prepared for if your customers don't like something, like the food company that I was working with the other day. They made a minor price increase, this food company. It was based on the cost of raw materials. Like you probably remember a couple of years ago when cotton prices went up and all the T-shirt manufacturers had to increase their prices by like 10, 15%. Yep. It was a similar thing. I think the price of one of the grains in their cereals increased. And this customer was absolutely livid. And they tried to call him. They tried to reach out to him. But in some cases, an angry customer just wants to vent. And, unfortunately, your kind of arena, whether it's, your Facebook page or whatever, might have to serve as the venue for that. And the marketing manager of that company, she said to me, she's like, Adam, I don't get it. Like, we've had such good luck so far. And I said, well, when was the last time you went to a big rock concert? And she's like, what? I said, well, when was the last time you went to a big rock concert? And she said, well, like last summer. And I said, okay, well, you went to a show at Shoreline Amphitheater. It's like our big outdoor amphitheater here in the Bay Area. And I said, how many people do you think were at the concert? She said, I don't know, like 20,000, something like that. And I said, that's right. I said, on your way out, did you see anybody who got arrested at the concert? And she's like, yeah, I think there was one guy who got arrested. He was like too drunk or something. And I said, okay, well, you have 22,000 fans on your Facebook page, and one of them made trouble. Remember, you were at the concert. There were 20,000 people there. One of them got arrested. I mean, those are sort of odds that you're just going to have to learn to live with.
Absolutely. The wrapping it back around just to the business case on this one, I specifically liked in the sales side is one where you talked about a new hire in a hotel, and just because we do have a lot of people that are in the sales side, also the marketing side, which I think this plays into. Can you kind of give just a high level on kind of the listening and what you can do and how you can leverage social CRM to potentially drive sales leads your way, I guess is the best way to look at it. And the flip side too is obviously if I'm sitting on the other side of the fence and someone's contacting me or sending me information almost immediately in my new position, it becomes almost creepy, I think, actually, from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Well, it's, you think of hotels. I remember seeing some story on Twitter about a year ago where some guy was waiting in line to check into a hotel in Las Vegas. I think he was in town for like the Consumer Electronics Show or something like that. And I've actually never been to Vegas, but I'm sure I'll go sometime. But anyway, he was trying to check in, and I think he got bumped. Basically, the hotel did not have a room available for him. They were oversold, even though he had a reservation. He tweeted it. Like 5 minutes later, he got a direct message on Twitter from a hotel that was 2 blocks away. And they're like, come on over. We'll get you right in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, that's the listening, right? That's what's going on.
Here's another example. The other day, I was on my way to Sacramento, California. It's about an hour and a half away from where I live. Just taking a little, kind of a local vacation with my fiance. I was curious about where to eat. I put a tweet up. We had 2 great meals because of people just in our network that we knew who just bam, like within minutes we had restaurant recommendations.
So it's the listening.
And so it's not just companies that are listening at that speed, it's the customers themselves that are listening at that speed.
Well, yeah, you get the evangelists from the client, from the customers. That's a nice thing to get.
Well, that's your testimonial network right there.
Yeah.